Good morning. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Julia Kufeldt. Pastor Tim's my dad. Hi, Dad. And I was asked to speak this morning a little bit about IYC, which is that stands for International Youth Convention. And the youth group, we went in the first week of July, and we went to Indianapolis. It's a Church of God youth convention that 4,000 students and adults all across America and some in Canada and other places of the world, they come and they worship and they spend a time listening to wonderful speakers and getting to know and connect other people around America. And it's really a truly amazing experience. And when Pastor Andy asked me to share my personal testimony from that week, I kind of started thinking to myself, what even is a testimony to me? I mean, to me, growing up, I always thought of a testimony as this miraculous story that somebody tells that nobody can deny, of this physical transformation, somebody being raised in a terrible home and then being taken from that by God, or being on the brink of ruin, on the brink of death, and being saved and resurrected. And as a kid, I never saw myself as having a testimony worth being shared. And that kind of bothered me, as I'm sure you can understand, that nobody would want to hear of the testimony of a girl who grew up at Dayspring, who there's never been a time in my life when church was not a part of it. My dad's the pastor, my mom's a Sunday school teacher, my brother is in the ministry, and there's just always been Jesus in my life. There's always been church, a church family. To me, my testimony was that Sunday morning in middle school when I followed my dad around the church a little bit, and I followed him to his office, and he just happened to be giving a baptismal class that morning. And he asked me, "Julia, do you want to be baptized?" And I said, "Sure, why not?" And so the next Sunday I was baptized, and that was that. But I see now that nothing in me changed. My heart was the same. I was still the same Julia, still living off of my parents' faith. As I continued to grow older and I have attended public school, I'm surrounded by so many different influences. And call it, I don't know, teenage rebellion or just a curiosity for things that I was unfamiliar with, but I was drawn to negative influences. I made some not so positive friends. I did some not so great things, and it just got worse and worse. And the things that I did and the people that I hung out with, some of them at least, it just changed my perspective on the world. It made me resent the ignorance that I was grown up in and the sheltered life that I lived. And I changed my perspective not only on the world, but also on myself. And a self-loathing just began to follow me around wherever I went. And it just got stronger, and it got stronger. And it felt like I was drowning in it, and nobody seemed to notice. And now I see that people noticed. And it didn't feel like I could tell anybody. I just felt trapped, and especially this summer, at the beginning of the summer, I was at a very low place, and I just felt trapped there. And I was angry at the world, and I was angry at God because he didn't seem to be anywhere. And I was even dreading going to the youth convention because I was like, oh, yay, more sermons. I live with the pastor. I already hear a lot of sermons. So, it just didn't seem like a fun time to me. But on that first night, the first song that was playing, the first service, God began chipping away at my heart. And he began smoothing the rough edges and breathing life back into me. And for the first time, I could truly feel his presence, and I could feel him whispering to me and telling me that he loves me, and that he sees what I'm going through, and I'm not alone, and that he knows my struggles, and he knows every thought in my head. And it was amazing. And for the first time in my life, I saw through my own eyes, not through my parents' eyes, but through my own, that God exists. And he is real, and his love for me and for all of us is just so real. And that week, he completely changed my heart. He completely changed my perspective on life, that I'm not going to live this mediocre Christianity. I'm not going to just come to church on Sundays and then leave it all on the pew. But I want to live for God. And this, thank you. This song that I'm going to be singing after the offertory prayer is a song that I wrote this past week, and it's about my transformation and how thankful I am to God that he showed himself to me in such a very real way. In church, I ask you to keep me in your prayers as I continue to grow in my faith and I continue to learn what trusting God looks like. But I also ask you to please pray for us students as we are going back to school this fall, and pray for us to be a light in the darkness and to be set apart and not be drawn to the influences around us. And church, I just thank you for those prayers in advance, and thank you for listening.